Hi, BookTube. Welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and it's time for the last update of the month. So I am currently I'm kind of in a book limbo, not a book slump, not a slump, but just jumping around because some of the books I started to read last week, I haven't picked all of them up again, like The Eyes of the Dragon or the Damascus Gate. I haven't picked those up again lately. But I did, and I did put down, the Portable Dante, which is in reading Inferno. I did get to Canto 10 in this one, and, I might be picking up again soon. I don't know yet. But, I'm still trying. I've been thinking about which section of the circles, the circles that I like, that I find the most fascinating to read, because I know there was a booktuber who mentioned that they had a favorite of the circles as far as, the creativity of the punishments these people receive. But it's really, and I guess this is due to the translation. Who's the translator? Let me see if I can find the translator of this particular, the Penguin edition. Translated it's the Mark Musa translation. And I don't know if that's a good translation, but so far it's good for me because it's definitely very easy to follow along. Now, I'm not an expert on translations and getting, understanding what a good one is. And so I don't know if there's better translations compared to Mark Musso. I mean, this is my first time reading this, so I don't know if this is a good one, but it's, like I said, it's good for me. I definitely understand the text and what's going on. I mean, I still struggle with this kind of stuff with epic poetry and I'm still struggling with reading Shakespeare. Like, I read The Merchant of Venice and I knew what was going on and I enjoyed the story, the play and everything, but it's still a little confusing at times and I didn't understand everything. But I think what's important is that you get the gist of the story and you understand what is the basics of what is going on within the scenes. Then I think you're golden. I think you're good. You don't have to understand every single turn of phrase or, play on words that Shakespeare does. Because I think it would just take a lot of time and a lot of study for you to understand everything. But in the case of Shakespeare. And then with epic poetry, it's I think it's the same thing. You're not going to understand everything in epic poetry. You're not going to understand every verse, in an epic poem. But as long as you don't have a basic idea of what's going on in each verse. And there's also, and what's nice about, these types of editions, or, the Folger's Shakespeare editions, and then the Barnes & Noble ones that they have for Shakespeare. What's great about those is they do have explanatory notes and stuff like that. That's why there's always people will do videos where they, when it comes to classics, plays and stuff, or this, they always talk about, there are videos that will talk about what is the best edition for you to get, because it will explain, a lot of them will have notes and will explain things and explain references and stuff that you might not be understand nowadays, because it was something that the people at the time that this was originally written would understand more than you would, because it's not as part of our culture. There are definitely some references on here that are not, there are probably, that are not, you don't necessarily understand. I haven't read all the books that are referenced in this book. Now, Jennifer Brooks herself did do a video where she recommends the other works that you should read before you read this. But obviously I'm not doing that because that one will take too long. And at the moment, I want to read it now. And then maybe I'll read those other texts that are referenced in this and then come back and reread this. And that might make it 10 times more enjoyable to read this. But I am enjoying this. I'm very intrigued by it. And I like what's nice about epic poetry is it's basically a story. It's just written in a poem format. So you're still getting a great story. It's just done in a way that's not always easy to understand and comprehend. But with enough practice and paying attention to things and trying to understand certain things, then I think it can be very, very fun to get into. So yeah, like I said, I'm reading this. I haven't picked it up lately in the past few days, but also, I started work again and I've been working the past 3 days. I'm off today and tomorrow, thankfully. So once I'm done filming these 2 videos, I'm gonna upload. I'm gonna this one, and then I'm gonna film another video that I'll upload for the beginning of July. Actually 2. I think I might do 2. That way I can go ahead and have them upload so that they'll already be ready to go at the beginning of July. But yeah, so that's the Portable Dante, and I'm reading Inferno, which is the first one. And his Divine Comedy, which I think calling it a Divine Comedy is so interesting. Like, I remember a booktuber talking about that, I think, and how it's called Divine Comedy. Like, in a way, it's morbidly comedic because of the ways that these people are punished. You feel bad for them and feel like, and it's kind of sad, but in a someone else could probably explain the name, why he calls it Divine Comedy better than I could. So I'll leave that to the experts. But yeah, I always find that interesting that it's called the Divine Comedy. Now the 2 I'm most focused on are, first, The Weight of Ink. This is one of the books I got when we visited Asheville. And went to what is it? Now I can't remember what that place is called. That famous location. It's where like Dirty Dancing was shot. A lot of their scenes were shot there, and the last Mohicans was shot there. Can't think of what the place is called. And another thing that where it's gonna pop in my head later, maybe in the middle of filming or after I'm done filming. But we stopped by. We drove up to Asheville and went to the bookstores there. Asheville, and I can't remember the other place that they recommended. I think I got this book at the other place. Yeah, because the Asheville bookstore was a lot bigger, and this was the bookstore at the other place was smaller. And I remember because I kind of struggled finding something that I wanted to get, in which, yeah, I probably didn't have to buy anything at all. But you know what? I was there, and it was like a place I've never been before. So, and that's where I first saw those special editions, classic editions that, Paper Mill Classics. That's where I saw those. But then they were, I was like, well, you'll probably find them cheaper somewhere else. So, like, online. So I didn't get those, but I found this one at that bookstore. I finally found one, and just like, it's not a fantasy book. It's actually historical fiction, and it's very similar to The Historian, where you have a historian discovering, like, being led to this information from a long time ago, centuries ago, and having to do research on it and getting to, like, investigate this thing. In this case, it's a document that one of her students found in the house that his wife inherited from her great aunt, and it's a document from a famous Jewish figure. Now, I don't know if this is historical fiction, so I don't know if this person is real or not, but this person was writing a letter in Portuguese to, I think, another Jew, and she's trying to check it out and see, get as much information as she can. And But the problem is that she is a British professor, and she's not, and I think she's like Catholic or Christian. So she decides that she needs someone that is an actual Jewish person to check this out, because she knows it wouldn't be right as this Catholic woman, that they might not trust her judgment. And so or not think it's fair that someone that's not of their religion looking at this document. So she hires this young college, I think he's still a college student, or like he just graduated, like maybe he's a postgraduate or something, young man from America, to come to England to check it out. And his name is Aaron Levy, and her name is Helen Watt. And I love their relationship, how there's like this tension between the two of them. They don't like each other, and they don't trust each other's judgment, and they're both very arrogant. And there's just this tension between the two of them where they're just butting heads, and it's not in a romantic way. It's, very much mentor-mentee kind of situation. And, he's this young kid, a young 20-something kid who's trying to prove himself and is frustrated that people, he can't find anyone his equal as far as intelligence goes. So he's very arrogant, but you kind of feel bad for him, because in a way, I kind of understand wanting to have a relationship with someone that is, has the same intelligence level as you, and you can actually have discussions without having to explain things to them. Like, yes, it's good to have someone that challenges you and forces you to, but sometimes it's kind of nice to have someone who's intellectually on your level, and it can be frustrating when they're not, which it's funny because I was rewatching Anne with an E, and I was I finished up the last season a few days ago, and Anne's friend Diana falls for this young boy, a young farmhand who the culprits hire, Jerry. But, he's not as educated, as he's very limited in education. His family is very poor, and he likes Diana, and she likes him, and they start hanging out together and spending time together secretly, because she doesn't want to, it's something that she wants to keep to herself. But then, and they both bond over the book Frankenstein. But she's a little more educated than this boy, so her view, what she interprets from the book is very different than what he interprets. She's really thinking about the book and diving deep into it, and that kind of comes between them. And unfortunately, the show got canceled, so we never got to see if this relationship went any farther or anything happened, or if she ever talked to this kid or not and apologized, because she kind of made him feel small and ashamed. And it was one of these things where she was like, they kissed. She was like, "Oh, you're a good kisser." And of course, these are 16-year-olds, so in the 1900s, so it's kind of it's not like today where at 16 and it's just, and it also gets between her and Anne, because Anne, she kind of gives Jerry a hard time, gets annoyed with him easily, but she also cares about him. He's like a brother to her. So she really did not appreciate Diana, combining their names, the way Diana treated him, because he was really hurt by it. And so on the one hand, I think Diana was kind of mean. It was unfair to him and being kind of insensitive to him. But I also can kind of understand Diana's frustration and wanting. But I think instead of being like, "Oh, you're a good kisser," she could have been like, they could have talked about it a little bit. So I understand the frustration, but I think how you approach it and and respond to other people, I think, we need to be a little more sensitive and a little more considerate of other people's feelings, and not make them feel small if they're not as intelligent as you are, or don't interpret things the way you do. But Aaron's character kind of made me think of that, of Diana and Anne with an E a little bit, Diana and Jerry. And he's also a young man, so people might not take him seriously because, you don't have as much wisdom because you're still learning and you're just a kid, and an arrogant kid who thinks he knows everything, is kind of cocky, and then he's a bit cocky, and then you have Helen, who is this older woman who still works at a college, but she now has arthritis and has to use a cane, and she's a woman, and so she has to deal with the prejudice of her being older and having to prove that, oh, just because I'm a little bit older and have to walk with a cane, but I still am with it. I am still very intelligent and very capable of doing this research. And so she has to prove herself, and she's not some dotty old lady, and so they both kind of have to prove they are that they are worthy. But they're not communicating, but they don't talk because they don't think about that they might have some stuff in common in that sense. They both kind of similar conflicts with other people, but they're so focused on the work and judging each other that they don't take the time to actually talk about that. They kind of are in a similar boat. But it's fun to read, and the tension between them is very amusing. But anyway, like I said, this is very much like the Historian, and it also has a similar writing style to the Historian. It's actual real history, and it's not like mixing history with the fantastical, because in the Historian, it's the idea of Dracula and the Transylvanian prince actually being a vampire. That's how it is with the Historian, and that Dracula may actually still be alive. While this one is about real history, real things that happen. I mean, maybe the people that they reference aren't real people, I don't know. And they're kind of going into this territory of our main character is, the person they're researching might not be what they seem. It's really good, and really fun. It's just really intriguing to read. And I'm glad I decided to read. I started reading it. Like, I feel like what I need to do is go through all my books that I got off of thrift books, or books I got, like all the books I got from used bookstores, and go through them and start reading them, and starting them, because I feel like sometimes they will sit there for long periods of time, because there's, I don't know for sure I'm going to feel about them. But I'm thinking, I didn't spend as much money, so it's okay if I don't love them, if I end up changing my mind later. So, like, I'm also thinking about Bark Skins. This was by Annie Pollux, which I'm trying to think. She wrote I can't think of what book. Oh, The Shipping News, which was recently, I think that's the book that the Tom Hanks movie was based off of, with him and the little girl. That was that he has to take cross country. She was raised by the Native Americans because she had been left behind by her white family, and so she's living out in the wilderness, and he takes her along with him to bring her back to her white family, and I think that's what the shipping is. I have to double check on that, but I think that's what that is. So and so there's that one, but Micah Cummings. He was talking about Barkskins, and I had just literally bought that, and it was a book that he said was really great. It's about a logging company that, from when it first was created to the present day, this French family comes to Canada. It was in the 1600s, so I think from what I remember, that he said they were escaping persecution or something, and they come to Canada. And it's kind of about, it's a saga, multi-generational story, it sounds like, so I do want to pick up that one soon. But anyway, and Toni Morrison blurbed it, a gifted writer astonishingly adept at nuanced narration and the politics of passion. And it also won the National Jewish Book Awards, which I didn't know there was an award for that. And I was kind of surprised. I did not know that. But I don't always pay attention to book awards anyway for anything. I mean, I'm only more aware of them now because there's a lot of booktubers that I watch that, like Greg from Supposedly Fun does one of the he is reading the books that won a certain book, books that won a certain award. Like he's like, I think the Pulitzer Prize, I think that's what he's doing. Or he's trying to read all the Pulitzer Prize winners over the decades. But anyway, this is really good. The Weight of Ink by Rachel Kaddish. Okay, and then the last book, I finally was able to read a big chunk of this one, The Belated Faith. It's the first book in a trilogy. I got the first 2 books, because I keep making the same mistake. Like, when I go to Books A Million, I end up prioritizing books that I haven't read yet, that kind of over books from a series that I need to get the next book, and then it takes me a long time before I get the next book. So I made sure I got book 2, though not today's visit, because I did go today. I'll show you my book that I got today, but the time before that, in the middle of the month, I went. But anyway, so this is The Belated Faith by David Dalglish. I hope I'm saying that right. This is basically this kingdom called Panet has been invaded by the Everlorn Empire. So think the Romans. And they take over this kingdom and wanting to make them believe, turn them into, like, convert them to their belief system, like, what do they call the god? Their, let me see if it will. Let me see. Where is it? Their, I cannot remember what they call their god. What is their god called? I'm trying to find it in here. Where the name of their god is. The uplifted god or something. And I'm just gonna call it the uplifted god because it's gonna be a lot forever to find the and they kill the king and queen and hold their son Cyrus as a prisoner, and he's imprisoned. It's been 2 years, and they've slowly erased any memory of their own gods, because Anna has these 2 gods that they praise, Darius, and I can't remember, Lycaonia. And so they erase any belief in their gods and everything, but little does the Everlorn Empire know that there are resistance fighters fighting against them, led by this nobleman Thorda, who has 2 daughters he has been training. One is a god whisperer, like she can communicate with the gods, and she determines herself to be a vessel for Andarius, the god Andarius, who is kind of a lion-like god, or he takes his vessel as a lion, and his most recent vessel was killed by the Everlorn, his most recent vessel, so she offers herself to become his vessel. And they are going to do a public execution of their other god, Lycaonia, in front of everybody, and they're forcing Cyrus to stand there and nod and give them the seal of approval, so that will be the last that will push down any resistance. But during that time, even though they successfully execute her, a riot breaks out because the girl Mari, Thorda's daughter, shows up, having now become a vessel to Endarius, and attacks. And it allows Cyrus, along with one of his guardians, his remaining guardian and teacher, I have to look up his name now. Rayan, that's his name. Rayan, to escape, and Rayan takes him to Thorda, where he takes Cyrus to his home in the country to train him to become an assassin, the vagrant prince, and train him to be, to become a fighter and wear this wooden mask. Kind of a Batman type figure. And that's basically, so far this is really good, very entertaining. I like that his training doesn't happen overnight. It happens, Thorda tells him that it's going to happen over a period of years. It might take years for him to learn how to be a proper fighter, and the shit gets beat out of him, but then he ends up being motivated later, so we do see his progress. It doesn't take the whole book, but because of course it's a trilogy, so they're not going to obviously the author doesn't want to spend the whole trilogy, this whole first book of him training to learn how to be a fighter. It kind of made me think a little bit about books like, the Warrior Chronicles by Bernard Cornwell, a little bit with the main character of Cyrus. A little bit. Although it's now it's starting to deviate, but it didn't remind me of that in the beginning. Because it starts out a similar way where Uhtred's homeland is taken over, and he is taken prisoner, but he's treated a lot better than Cyrus was when he was taken prisoner. But it's just really cool, and I like his, I always like stories where we have a mentor-mentee relationship that is kind of shaky at times. I think those are always great to read about or watch in some cases for me. Like Buffy and Giles, for instance. So it's kind of fun to watch that, see those relationships unfold, the complicatedness of it. So, I was finally able to read a good chunk of it because, like I said, I worked the past 3 days. So I'm also reading the Weight of Ink as well. So it's like trying to go back and forth and juggling both books and trying to figure out which books to prioritize. And I'm kind of prioritizing the Weight of Ink, but I do bring this one with me to work. So I do read a couple pages during my 15-minute break. And then I read it again when I come home from work, which is not until close to 6, unfortunately. But yeah, so that's the books I'm kind of focusing on right now. Let's talk about the books I recently... You already saw my latest roast office book purchase. I haven't gone to the roast office since. But I did get my recent thrift books purchase, which is the second book, the sequel to The Wolf. This is also a trilogy. The other one is The Cuckoo. This is the second one, The Spider. Which I hope that the female comes more, his wife, the main character's wife, comes more into play in this book and does a little bit more. So you can tell it's used because this part is all like... But as Larissa pointed out to me, it's fun to see when they're all like a little battered, because then it shows that they were well loved. When that they were, and as long as it's not like completely falling out, like the time when I got the old Curiosity Shop, that one basically is falling out of its spine. That is the only time I've had a bad experience with thrift books. And I think it was a thrift books purchase. Like that was the only time where I actually had a really bad experience, and that might have been my fault. I don't know, but other than that one time, it's been great. My experience with third books has been really good, and I always get my books are also always in pretty decent shape. But yeah, I'm glad that I finally got this because originally my original plan, like I think I mentioned originally, there were 3 Lord of the Rings books I had my eye on. But then they are still a little bit more expensive. Well, 2 of them weren't that expensive. The languages of Middle Earth was the cheapest one. That's basically a study of the 3 languages that Tolkien created. But the other 2 that I really wanted, also along with that one, were kind of pricey. So I am waiting on those to get those another time. But like maybe for Christmas or something. That's the next big present given time coming up because my birthday already passed. So, oh, George R. R. Martin blurbed it. Oh no, wait, no, he didn't. Actually, it was will remind readers of George R. R. Martin, which I can see that comparison. But so there's that. And then now the other book I got, I feel really dumb because I didn't think about the fact that this is actually the 3rd book in a series. So the last book. So I still got to get book 2. But I had not read for the 1st book. So I can wait before I get book 2. But the 3rd book in the Dragon in the Heartstone trilogy, this is book 3, The Flamebringer. That is, the first one is Heartstone, and that is a fantasy retelling of Pride and Prejudice. So with dragons, but they're not dragons. The characters aren't dragons like Tooth and Claw. Actually, in this trilogy, they are dragon riders. Which I really like. I love when they take like books like that and have a fantasy spin on them. I always think that's cool. Like I would love to take a favorite classic and give it a fantasy take on it. Like, you know, I would love to see like a Jane Eyre with kind of like Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, or Sense and Sensibility and Sea Monsters, or like Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I would like to see them do that with Jane Eyre, where maybe Rochester's like a werewolf or something, or maybe his wife's a werewolf, and then maybe she turned him into a werewolf. I think that'd be really cool, or something like that, or vampires. I think, although I would rather them do werewolves, because a lot of people do vampires, which I could write it myself if I wanted to take a lot of work, but I could try, you know. I mean, I imagine like a lot of, you can either go the route of the Vampire and Prejudice and Zombies, where they basically took the original book and just added some, you know, tweaked it a little bit to include zombies, and then, you know, added scenes where they're doing zombie fights and talking about zombies and all that. Or there are some retellings where, yeah, they take the already existing elements, but they don't copy and paste. They don't take the story and then just add in stuff, the actual original text. Which, like, I imagine this trilogy is not like that. I imagine this trilogy is, you know, yeah, you take the basic scenes, but you don't, like, copy and paste. Which, not that, you know, I don't say that as in, like, a bad, you know, that. It's just, that's kind of what was done with Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, and the Sense and Sensibility, and, well, actually, I don't know that, but I'm assuming it was the same thing, because it's the same author. But yeah, I'm glad that the HarperCollins situation has been dealt with, which I hope that, you know, they've given the company has given the people that were protesting the money that they deserve. But I just realized this is a Harper, an imprint of HarperCollins. I mean, not that anyone was stopping me from reading books that haven't been published by HarperCollins, but it's just that a lot of people said that, oh, if you aren't supported this, you shouldn't show books that are by that company. But anyway, although I can do what I want. I mean, it's my channel. But anyway, so I still gotta get book 2, but I'll probably wait until August to get book 2. Which is fine. I mean, and I can read book 1 for Jane. I can still read book 1 for Jane Austen in July. Okay, so the last... I don't know if I showed you guys this yet. But this is the sequel, the second book in the Figure God series. So this is the sequel to The Bladed Faith, Sapphire Altar. But this is I like the tagline on the back here because it reminds me there's a song that with this lyric, it says this: legends aren't born, they're made. There's actually a song that uses the song Centuries, I think. Legends are born. It's like where legends are born or something like that. Which is funny. They've been using that song in the beach front that show where that HGTV show where they're doing Battlefront beach property Battlefront or whatever, where they have teams that have to, do beach houses, and they use that song Centuries, which is lyric. Okay, so that's the sequel to this, so I can't really say anything about this one because I haven't finished the other one yet, so that would be spoiling myself. Okay, so the book I actually got today, which I actually got a little bit more than just this book, because I also got like gifts for other people, and my mom, I got this box set of The Borrowers, which I don't have to worry about talking about on here because my nephews are too young to watch this. Not that I do anything really bad, but I don't think my sister shows it to them, and it's not gonna matter because they probably don't care about when they want to sit there and watch my videos. But I got that for them as a Christmas gift. And then I also got, my mom wanted to get my grandma a crossword puzzle thing because, to maybe help her a little bit with her memory and stuff. And help her concentrate and focus more, I think. Although I personally think she should, or not a crossword, she got her the word search book. I think she should get her crossword, but I think that might be a little, but then again, that'd probably be a little too hard for her. So word search, all you're doing is looking for words in a, but, and not actually trying to solve, figure out what the clue is. But, and then she also got, and then my mom also got them some other books as well. Like, got them some other, learning type books, history books for kids. So, so we got that. But gifts from other people don't count to my mom and I talked about how we're not gonna have it where books I buy for other people don't count to my, I can't think of the word, how much I can spend, how much I'm gonna let myself spend at the bookstore each month. So I got this, but what I treated myself with was this, which as soon as I saw dragons, I think dragon's a buzzword for me, as becoming a buzzword for me. So ooh, she's indigenous. I did not realize. I was thinking she was because I was thinking my first thought was Chinese because this dragon reminded me of Chinese dragon, but no, actually she's indigenous. Okay, the blurb says, a young indigenous woman enters the colonizer-run Dragon Academy and quickly finds herself at odds with the approved way of doing things, in the first brilliant book of a new fantasy series. Which I wonder how long it's going to be. It's going to be a trilogy or it's going to be a series. But, the remote island of Massaquapog, sorry I'm butchering that, has not seen a dragon in many generations until 15-year-old Eniquaz finds the dragon's egg and bonds with its hatchling. Her people are delighted, for all remember the tales of the days when dragons lived among them and danced away the storms of autumn, enabling the people to thrive. To them, Enquaz is revered. Napapeshwazet. Sorry, I am totally butchering that. A person in a unique relationship with a dragon. Unfortunately for Enquaz, the English conquerors of her land have different opinions. They have a very specific idea of how a dragon should be raised and who should be doing the raising. And Enquaz does not meet any of their requirements. Let me guess, probably an only white male. Only with great reluctance do they allow Enquaz to enroll in a proper English dragon school on the mainland. If she can succeed there, her dragon will be killed. If she cannot succeed, her dragon will be killed. For a girl with no formal schooling, a non-English upbringing, a very different understanding of history of her land, challenges abound, both socially and academically. And this, of course, it has a little sticker. But Enquaz is smart, determined, and resolved to learn what she needs to help her dragon, even if it means teaching herself. The one thing she refuses to do, however, is become the meek English miss that everyone expects. Enquaz and her dragon may be coming of age, but they're also coming to power, and that, an important realization, the world needs changing, and they might just be the ones to do it. That sounds really cool. And I did kind of want to do a dragon thing during the summer. Okay, so that's the book okay, so that is my reading update. So please tell me what you are currently reading in the comments below. And have you purchased any books lately, or have you been using your library? What have you borrowed lately? Please share in the comments below, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, click subscribe if you haven't already, click the bell notification below if you want to be notified about my latest videos and updates, and I hope you're enjoying your reading, and I will talk to you all later.